In this video, I'm going to show you the best way to set up a GitHub repository. Before we begin, if you haven't already, I highly recommend the Git and GitHub introductory video. In this video, I go over all of the concepts and the vocabulary behind what make Git and GitHub work. I think this video is really going to help you out to get started. A moment ago, I said I was going to show you the best way to set up a GitHub repository. We're going to be using the terminal. I think this is the best method for a number of reasons. Topping that list is the fact that this is the most consistent method for using GitHub. Most GUIs aren't as dependable or as explicit as using the terminal. But if using a terminal is an obstacle for you, if you're hesitant to get in there and start typing out commands, then go ahead and check out this video here. I wouldn't say it's as critical, but if you're uncomfortable, I think you'll really appreciate the extra help. Enough of the introduction, let's go ahead and jump into it. To start, let's open Terminal. Terminal is already installed on your computer. You can find it in the Applications folder, or you can find it in Launchpad, which is what I usually use. The first thing we're going to do is navigate to a directory where we're going to save our project. We'll also use this as an opportunity to review our terminal commands. So one of the first commands is ls, to list the files in your current working directory. If I type ls, I can see all of the folders inside of my home directory. If I want to navigate to one of those folders, I type cd, change directory, and I'm going to navigate to the documents folder. As a shortcut, I can press tab to autocomplete. Now I'm inside my documents folder, and I'm going to navigate into another folder called programming. And here's where I'm going to create my directory for my project. To create a directory, I'm going to use a new command, make dir, mkdir, and I'm going to call this GitHub practice. Since I'm using a space, I'm going to put it in quotes. GitHub space practice, end quote. Okay, and we're going to navigate inside of that. cd GitHub practice. All right. Now, to show you what I've done so far, let me open a folder inside of the Finder. I'm inside Documents. I'm inside Programming. I'm inside the folder GitHub Practice. And there's nothing in there. We need to create our Git project. To do this, you're going to need to make sure that Git is already installed on your machine. I'm not going to go over installation instructions, but if you need to do that, there's a link in the description. What you could try doing is just seeing if it's already installed by typing git version. And so now, to initialize a Git project inside this directory, I'm going to type the command git init for initialize. Every command I'm going to be doing now for basically the rest of the video is going to start with the preface git. Git init. Hit enter, and it initialized an empty Git repository. You'll see over here in my Finder that no files have been created, but if we do ls-a for all, we'll show all of the files, including those that are invisible. And it shows us that we have a file that is named Git. So what we'll do next is we'll create our first file inside of our Git project. I'm going to continue using the command line, and I'm going to use another new command, touch. Touch is the command for creating new files. So touch, and we'll call this file first file. Enter. You can see that first file appeared over here in my Finder. We'll open it. That'll open it in text edit, and we'll type the line hello world and save changes to that file. Now I have saved changes to that file. What I now need to do is start marking those changes. Go ahead and type this command with me. Git status. And hit enter. And let's read through this output. It says we're on branch master. We have no commits yet. And we have untracked files. We have to use the command git add and then the file name in order to include what we want to commit. So let's do that now. Git add first file. And now I'll type git status again. I have no commits yet, but I do have changes that can be committed. So finally, let's commit those changes. We'll type git commit, and every time we write a commit, we're going to be required to add a commit message. That's a very brief message to describe what changes were made. In the long run, you want to use descriptive commit messages. So I'm going to type -m, which is the option for message, and we'll say first commit, end quote, enter. And our output shows that we had one file changed with one insertion. To see a confirmation of this commit, we're going to use the command git show, as in show the recent commits. And it says the author, the date, the name, or rather the description. And then down below, this is a representation of the changes. So the little plus symbol, hello world, indicates that a line was added. Remember, in Git, you're not saving files, you're saving changes to files. When I use Git locally and I save commits, it provides me a way to jump between different versions of my project, which is convenient, but the real power in Git is using it as a collaborative tool, which means uploading your project onto a service like GitHub. That's the very next thing we're going to do. To do this, we're going to have to create an account. So go ahead and go to github.com and click sign up if you don't already have an account. And you'll have to fill out this form. Now I already have an account, so why don't you go ahead and pause the video to fill out this form, and then we can resume from here. On your landing page, you can create a new repository by clicking the new button in the top corner. This repository will need a name, so I'm going to call mine GitHub tutorial. And on GitHub, accounts can be free when the repositories are public, so we'll go ahead and leave it as a public repository. We're not going to initialize because we initialized a project when we typed git init in the terminal just a few minutes ago. We won't check that box, and instead we'll go ahead and we'll confirm that we want to create this repository. Since the repository on the remote branch hasn't been initialized yet, it's showing us a few commands that we can add to the terminal in order to send our local repository up to the cloud. Let's go ahead and take a look at these commands. The first three are about creating a file, initializing the Git project, and adding it, then committing it, which we've already done. The two steps we haven't done yet are these last two lines. So the first of these last two, git remote, remote as in remote branch or remote repository, add, that's the same command that we used when we added our file, origin. Origin is the word that is very commonly used that describes the URL that links the local repository to a remote repository. So your URL is probably going to look like this with your username put in there. So you can go ahead and copy that line. And let me clear our terminal so that we can see more clearly. We're going ahead and paste it and hit enter. Now there's another line below, git push. Git push is going to be very commonly used, but because this is the first time we're pushing, it's giving us a few options. The -u, origin master, what that's going to do is establish which local branch is connected to which remote branch. We'll type it and I'll show you what I mean. So we'll say git push -u origin master, or I guess you could copy and paste. Hit enter. And we sent our commit to the URL here. It's a brand new branch, and we linked our local branch, master, to the remote branch by the same name. It says branch master set up to track remote branch master from origin. So now whenever we do pushing and pulling from our local branch, it knows that this branch is connected to the remote branch with the same name. That's what the -u is for. We won't have to do -u every single time. To see that this works, let's go back to github.com and just refresh the page. Here we've got the first file, and you can click on it to see its contents. Hello world. Now, if you'd like, this is a good time to stop and just practice everything that we've done another time, going through all of the same steps. Opening the file, making a change, adding that change and committing it, then pushing. The only thing that'll be any different is it'll no longer be necessary to type -u. You can just type git push. At this time, we're going to simulate what it's like to work with two people. If you watched the introductory video, I talked about Katie and Jim and how they worked in different locations. So I'm not actually going to use different locations. I've got one computer here, but I can simulate a change from another computer by just making the change directly on the remote branch. So for example, on GitHub in my browser, I'm going to edit this file by clicking the little pencil in the corner. Hello world. We'll add a new line and we'll say, this is Jim. I made a change. Scroll down to the bottom and we're going to commit Jim's change. Okay, and you'll see that the commit message was populated automatically. It used the commit message update first file. Now we're going to pretend that we're Katie and we're on the computer at home. The command I'll use is git pull. We have 3 changes. It was 1 file, 2 insertions, and 1 deletion. So to have more information about this, we'll type the command git show. And you can see the changes down here. Now let's make some changes on our local repository. We'll open the first file and we'll say, this is Katie. I edited Jim's change. And we'll save that. Now again, I've saved it, I haven't committed it yet. We'll quit out of here. We'll type git add first file. Now we'll go ahead and commit that. So again, git commit -m for our message. We'll say Katie's commit. But we're not going to push because what I want to do is simulate that merge conflict. So locally, we have this change, but before we can push it, Jim gets up there and he pushes first. Let me show you. Back on GitHub, we'll edit this file again. And Jim is just going to delete that line that we added. And we'll commit those changes. So now on the cloud, in the remote repository, Jim has pushed changes before Katie was allowed to push. What's going to happen when we do git push? We'll type git push. And here's that error. Rejected. Error. Failed to push refs to the URL. What do we have to do when our push fails? We have to pull first. So we'll type git pull. So here we're told that there's a conflict. So when it attempted to auto-merge, it found that it failed because I have to fix the conflicts first. So let's take a look at those conflicts. I'll type open the first file again. And here we can see what happened. This area between the caret symbols and the equal sign represents the head. Remember, head is the branch that you're currently on your local repository. This is the change we just made. We wrote, this is Katie. I edited Jim's change. The piece after the equal sign and before the closing carets is Jim's change. And there's nothing in here because Jim deleted the line. If he had made an edit, it would have appeared in here. So what we have to do is eliminate these added indicators. So if we're going to go with Katie's edit and forget about Jim's deletion, we'll delete that line and we'll delete this line. We'll save that. And now that we've saved it, we'll type git add. And as a shortcut, instead of typing the name of every file you want to add, you can also do -A to add all. We'll say git commit -m resolved merge conflicts, end quote. So let's go ahead and view our commit. We'll type git show. Git show will say that we wrote one called resolved merge conflicts. And now we'll push that. So git push. And again, you notice it wasn't necessary for me to write the -u because I already have established this link between my local branch and my remote branch. Okay, it says it's done. So we'll go back to the browser and refresh this page. Hello world, this is Katie. I edited Jim's change. So those are the basics of an exchange of commits on GitHub. All right, last topic, branches. You might recall that branches offer a way for multiple programmers to do their own work in separate versions of the same project and then merge them all at once when they're ready. This is preferable to only having one branch and managing conflicts constantly. So how would we create a brand new branch? We'll try this command, git checkout. Checkout. And since I'm making a new branch, I need to specify that this is new by using -b for branch. And we'll say this is Katie's branch. So new branch, Katie. Git checkout -b, Katie. Switched to a new branch, Katie. Now let's go ahead and create a commit that we can see on GitHub after we push it. We'll say touch, and we'll call this file Katie's file, end quote. Oh, .txt. And we'll open Katie's file. Katie made this. Save. Git add Katie's file. Git commit -m work for Katie. And now finally, because I've made a new branch, I want to make sure the new branch is linked to an upstream branch with the same name. We're going to do a push using the same format. Git push -u origin, and I called it Katie. Now to see that this was successful, we're going to jump onto GitHub. We'll reload. And if we look at our project, it says that we have first file, but Katie's file isn't there. It's because I'm on the master branch. Oh, look, we have a branch called Katie. We'll check out that branch. And here we have Katie's file. Back in my terminal, to see these branches, I can use git branch -a, which is a way of listing all the branches. And you'll see that we have Katie, master, and then remotes. The asterisk indicates the branch that we're currently on, and if I want to jump between branches, I can just use the checkout command. Those are all the topics that I have planned for this video. However, this is part of a larger series on web development. The chief goal of this series is to provide simple explanations for big ideas and overarching principles in web development. Through my own experience, I've found that many tutorials will take you through the steps of programming without thoroughly explaining why things work the way they do. If you'd like to get on board with me and see what you can accomplish in web development, go ahead and subscribe and click the bell so that you get notifications with each new video, which I publish every weekend. My name is Ben. You can check me out on Twitter at NeverBeenBetter or my blog at neverbeenbetter.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.